Hey everyone, welcome back to another video in my 100 Books in a Year challenge. I am excited to share with you what I read in April and what I'm planning on reading upcoming this month of May. I'm a little bit behind where I wanted to be, so I'm trying to really double down on my efforts in May to really get a lot of books read. And yeah, let's get into the video. Okay, I've got my trusty Read Green bag here with all the books that I read this month. So the first book that I read was my self-improvement type book, and that was this one called The Brain Maker by David Perlmutter. I'm assuming that's how you say it. And this book, so this is about how our diet can affect our brain health. And kind of our overall health, but specifically our brain health. Then at the end, he gives you kind of his recommendations for maintaining a healthy gut, what you should avoid eating, what you should eat more of. And overall, I enjoyed this book. There was a lot of good information. There's things that I've definitely been implementing in my lifestyle. But overall, it was very repetitive to me. He kind of goes through, first he talks about Alzheimer's and our gut, and he cites a bunch of different studies about how the gut affected different mice or humans or whatever the study was on, affected how Alzheimer's or dementia played out. And then he just goes through a bunch of different ones and kind of says the same thing over and over again about how our gut affects what's going on in our brain. So it was a little bit repetitive in that way, but there was definitely good information, and something that, like I said, I'll be implementing some of in my lifestyle. So it was still a good read, but not my favorite. Next, I read this book, Urn Burial, a Phryne Fisher mystery by Kerry Greenwood. And I enjoyed this a lot. I love Miss Fisher's mysteries, is that what it's called? Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, it's a great show. So that show is based off of these books. And Phryne is an awesome character. So, an independent woman, and this is set back in the 20s, 30s. So it was kind of a time when women are still expected to get married and, kind of be secondary to the men in their life. And Phryne is very much an independent woman. She has lovers, which that does get a little bit intense sometimes in this book. I did have to skip a scene. But overall it was really good, and she's just an awesome character. Really good murder mystery. Yeah, it's a great book, and it's not very long. It's not quite 200 pages. So I'll definitely be reading more Phryne Fisher mysteries. I think it was really good, really fun, and yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Okay, the next book that I read was arguably my favorite book I have ever read in my entire life. Obviously, preferences change throughout time, and but this book is amazing. I read The Princess Bride by William Goldman, and first of all, just this cover is amazing. It's kind of large print, and there's some illustrations throughout it that are really nice. This book is over 300 pages, almost 400 pages, and I read it in one day. I literally read this from pretty much the time I woke up. I had breakfast and then I started reading. I just was gonna start it, but then I literally could not stop reading. I read it all day until dinner time, and I finished it, and it's amazing. If you haven't seen the movie The Princess Bride, which is based on this book, watch the movie. read the book. Both are fantastic. They do a really good job on the movie, and yeah, this book is amazing. It's funny, there's action and adventure, there's romance. It's amazing. Definitely in my top 10 favorite books of all time. Something I will definitely read again, something I'm going to go out and buy because it's amazing. It's really amazing. Okay, the last book is not a good book. This book that I read is called The Singles. This is the last book I read by Meredith Goldstein. It's her debut novel, and it follows like 5 or 6 different people who go to this wedding, and these people are single. Here comes a car. Yeah, so these people are single, and I thought it might be really interesting, and some of it was really interesting. So it just kind of goes through like their different perspectives, their different social oddities, and talks about different things. Like one of the girls is hung up on her ex-boyfriend who is coming to the wedding with a new girlfriend, and like a bunch of them know each other from college, and some of them are out of the blue. Anyways, it sounded really interesting, but it was not. It didn't take long to read. It's pretty short, but yeah, the ending was really lackluster. Like, it's just, and yeah, I don't know. Definitely not something I would read again, probably. Yeah, well, definitely not something I would own or want to read again. I would skip it. It wasn't that great, and there was a lot of like dumb references to women's body parts. Like, I hated all the guys in this book because literally every single one of them mostly talked and thought about having sex with the women in the book. So definitely skip that one. But yeah, that is all the books I read this month. 4 books. I am getting ready to go to the library now, and I will show you what I get when I get back. Alright, hey everyone, I'm back. It's been a busier day than I anticipated, but I finally made it back from the library, and I did pretty well staying on list. I got in there, I got the books I wanted, and I got out so that I wouldn't overdo it. But this month is hopefully going to be a little bit slower than last month, and so I'm going to do my best to get quite a lot of books in to kind of catch up, I guess. And so yeah, I've got a lot of books that I'm planning to read. So these first 3 I've already started. A couple of them you've seen in past videos. This one is, I can never remember the name, The Fortunes and Misfortunes of the Famous Moll Flanders. Of the famous Moll Flanders. And so I've been reading that. I'm not very far into it. It's a little bit hard to read, but hopefully it'll get better. The second book that I'm planning on reading and that I've already started is one I've shown again before, The Dangerous Days of Daniel X. So far it's kind of weird, but really easy and fun to read, so I'm hoping for good things to come. And then this next one is a reread for me. This is Catching Fire, the second book in the Hunger Games series. And I love this book, so I just wanted to reread it. And then I have one book that's off of my bookshelf that I'm planning to read. This is a Nancy Drew mystery, The Clue of the Broken Locket, by Carolyn Keene. And this is one that I haven't read before. As you can see, it's an old copy in pretty rough shape, but it's one that I got from my mom, and I love Nancy Drew, so I'm excited to read that. Okay, so these next ones are all from the library. First off, I got 2 audiobooks from my library's app The first one, I'm just looking at my list. The first one, which I just started listening to, is called The Book Jumper, and I'm going to butcher this author's name, by Mechthild Glaser, something like that. She or he, don't know, is German, and so this book was originally written in German, and this is an English translation. And it sounds interesting, kind of a sci-fi fantasy type of book. And then the other audiobook that I got is called Before the Fall by Noah Hawley, and that is a thriller type of mystery book. So both of those sounded really interesting, and I like audiobooks for when I'm kind of working and have them in the background. So I got those two. I also have 2 books on hold because they didn't have them available right away at my library, and those are, what is it called? There we go. Okay, I have to remember my list. Theirs are called Yes Please by Amy Poehler, which I'm really excited about. I love Amy Poehler. If you haven't seen Parks and Rec, it's like one of my favorite shows of all time. I rewatch it often. So I'm excited about that one. And then the other one is also a TV show that I started watching when I was in Sacramento house sitting because I didn't have a lot to do, and so it's called The 100, and it's like a dystopian book where 100 teenage prisoners get sent down to Earth from space. They live in a space station to see if to see if Earth is inhabitable, because there has been a nuclear war about 100 years before this time, and they've been living in space for 100 years. So these criminals that are teenagers are sent down to see if Earth is inhabitable. So I got the first book in that series put on hold because I really wanted to read them after seeing the show and loving it. So I'm excited about that as well. Now, all the books that I got today at the library. So I was hoping to get the second Percy Jackson, but they didn't have it, unfortunately. So I was just in the juvenile section and kind of looking around at the series, and I found this one called Lock and Key, The Initiation. So this is a book, based on what I've read, about Sherlock Holmes and James Moriarty, which, if you've read Sherlock Holmes, James Moriarty is like his arch nemesis. So it's about them being roommates at this academy, and like solving mysteries together, I guess. So anyways, it sounded interesting. I love Sherlock Holmes, and I thought it would be kind of fun to read. The next one I got is a classic that I have never read, called The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. And this, first of all, this is such a beautiful binding. I love it. But yeah, I just wanted to read kind of a fun classic that I hadn't read before, so I'm excited for that. This one is called Grandma Gatewood's Walk, the inspiring story of the woman who saved the Appalachian Trail. So this is about a woman, Emma Gatewood, who was the first woman to walk the whole Appalachian Trail, I believe. And then she did it twice after that, when she was like 72 and 75, something like that. So she sounded like a really interesting woman, and I love hiking, and yeah, we'll see if it's any good. So this is like taken from her journals and people, like accounts of people who knew her and different things, kind of compiled into a book. So I'm excited for that one. This was the one book, only one book this time, that was off list for me, but I didn't have any mysteries other than that, well, Nancy Drew, obviously, and then the audiobook, but I really wanted a mystery, so I got an Agatha Christie book. This is one I've never read, called, let's see, The Labors of Hercules. I've never actually even heard of this one, so I'm excited about it. I'm not sure which detective this one is. Oh, this is a Poirot. This is a Poirot story, so I like him. And yeah, Agatha Christie is an amazing mystery writer, so I love that one. Okay, and then aptly named, this is the last one I got at the library, and the last one, it's the last one by okay, how many times can I say that? By Alexandra Oliva. And this one is one that I got on recommendation by another YouTuber who talks about the books that they read, and she really liked this one. I will put a link down below to her channel. I believe it's called What Victoria Read. And so this is like similar to the Hunger Games type of feeling, where this girl goes on a reality show. It's like a survival show, and you try and survive the longest. So you're trying to be the last one. If you've ever seen the TV show Alone, I feel like it's going to be kind of similar to that, where they go out and they survive on their own until they are the last one standing. And so it's about her going on this TV show, and like, I guess something goes wrong or something based on what the YouTuber said. So anyways, it just sounded interesting, and we're gonna give it a shot. So yeah, that's what I'm reading this month. If you lost count, that's how many books? Like 12 or 13 books. That's a lot of books, but a lot of them are really short, and I've got less to do this month, so I'm hoping to really get stuck into some of these. So comment down below what books you're reading, any recommendations you might have, YouTubers that you like that review or tell you what books they're reading. I always like to watch those, and I hope you have a fabulous day.